Again, speaking as a professional is going to be presented by Robert Carvalho. He has a master's degree in public administration from the University of Hawaii at Manoa and is a graduate of the FBI National Academy. He recently retired from the Honolulu Police Department after 31 years of dedicated service and is currently employed by the National Football League as their security representative for the state of Hawaii. While at HPD, Robert was assigned to the hostage negotiation team and quickly learned how to communicate effectively under stress. Robert is here to provide us a baseline for effective communication at work, at home, and in life. Please welcome Robert Carvalho.
Thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate this opportunity to be with all of you. I was so pleased when Randy asked me to come and speak to all of you, and then I found out that I had the block of instruction right after lunch. So I promise I'll keep this moving and try to make it a little bit exciting to keep you awake. I know that you have your handout and you also got the PowerPoint. If I were you, I'd put the PowerPoint away because it's just going to confuse you. And stick to the handout that you have, and we'll fill in those blanks. No, it's not a test. So Randy invited me to come and speak to all of you. He said he wanted me to talk about effective communication. And he told me the block of instruction is 40 minutes long. And so then I determined that I can't effectively communicate to you in 40 minutes how to become an effective communicator. It's just not possible. But what I thought I would do is just share with you an experience that I went through, an actual case study that a lot of you are familiar with, I'm sure, that occurred here in Oahu, and how, well, not here in Oahu, and how effective communication was used to resolve that situation. And because we're all professionals, I'm hoping that you'll just glean what you need from this presentation, take what you need, and anything that's white noise, you can leave it behind. Okay? You guys ready to start?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So what I want to do is take you back in time. This is November 2nd, 1999. It's probably a cool morning on the island of Oahu. These 7 men woke up that morning and went to work, and they never came home. They never came home. These 7 men were employed by Xerox Corporation. They had their headquarters at 1120 North Nimitz. And they had no idea that one of their co-workers, Byron Uesugi, was going to come to work that day armed with a 9mm Glock and murder each of them. He arrived on the 2nd floor of the Xerox building via the back staircase, which is normal. And then he walked right down the corridor into the computer training room, where he shot Ron and Jason, his first 2 victims. For some reason, he didn't shoot Randall Shim. He then turned around, went back up the hallway, and went into the conference room where a meeting was about to start. And that's where he shot Melvin, John, Ron, Peter, and Ford. And the numbers that you see displayed next to their name indicate the number of times these victims were shot. He then very calmly exited the back staircase, went down into the garage, entered a Xerox company vehicle, a green van to be specific, and left the scene. Of course, witnesses called HPD, and they soon arrived and made the grisly discovery. By the way, this is the conference or the computer training room where the first 2 murders occurred. And this is the conference room where the 5 murders occurred. Should this be your place of employment? Something to think about. So the police responded. Right down here is the, right up here is the scene, 1200 North Nimitz Highway, Xerox building. Officers were dispatched to 700 Bishop, a few blocks away, a few miles away, because they thought Byron might continue his murderous rampage. But Byron wasn't there. Officers were then dispatched up to his residence here on Easy Street, where he lived with his father. Byron wasn't there either. All points bulletin went out, and in a couple hours, the officers found Byron. Right here in the Hawaii Nature Center up there in Makiki. He was parked in the van by himself, thinking what? Suicide. Because isn't that how all these events end? And he had the means right there. On the dashboard was that Glock 9mm handgun. So the SSD officers responded, did their inner perimeter, their secondary perimeter, and the hostage negotiation team was summoned. And after 3 hours of effectively communicating with Byron, he actually surrendered. Now, isn't that unusual? Is that how these events end? No. No. No, it's not. So if we're talking about effective communication today, and that's what we're talking about, do you think the communication between the hostage team and Byron Wisugi, or the communication that the hostage team used, was effective? Clearly. Now, do you think if I shared with you some of those techniques, that might help you in your everyday life? Possibly.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah. So why don't we just give it a try? But in order to do that, I got to take you even farther back in time. This is 1981, when I joined the Honolulu Police Department. I know what you're thinking. Handsome devil, huh? And where did all that hair go? This was actually at our graduation. You see, I don't even have my badge pinned on my shirt yet. I was actually the class speaker, very proud to be the class speaker of the classes, the 79th recruit class for the Honolulu Police Department. After I graduated from recruit school, I did patrol activity, the normal that you folks are used to, responding to calls for service. Worked in the Central Receiving Division for a while, booking prisoners. That was an experience. And then in 1995, I was promoted to the rank of Sergeant Detective. In our department, Sergeant Detective, same thing. Yeah? Sergeant Supervised Personnel, detectives handle investigations. I worked in major crimes detail. I worked with the FBI on some robbery cases. I was also a fire arson investigator for about 7 years in investigating arson cases, which is very interesting. Very dirty work, but very interesting nonetheless. So after being up there in the Criminal Investigation Division for about a year or so, I saw Lieutenant Karen Canillo in the hallway. She said, "Bobby, will you come in my office? I want to talk to you." Now, a couple of things you need to know about Lieutenant Canillo. Number one, she's a wonderful, wonderful woman. Number two, at the time, she was the head of the hostage negotiation team, which was made up of detectives in the Criminal Investigation Division. And you couldn't apply to be a hostage negotiator. You had to be asked. Yes? Because it takes a certain type of person, and you're working with a team at some very critical incidences. So you can imagine how excited I was when Lieutenant Canillo said, "There's an opening on the team, Bobby, and we'd like to know if you're interested in taking the position." And I thought, wow, be a hostage negotiator for the Honolulu Police Department? Yeah, I want to do that. And then I started thinking, what do you say to somebody who's holding a gun to their head? Or what do you say to somebody who's holding a gun to somebody else's head? So I started backpedaling. I'm not sure I wanted to take on this assignment. And so I shared my concerns with Lieutenant Canillo. And this is what she told me. It's the first line in the notes that you have in front of you. She said, "Bobby, it's not about talking, it's about listening. It's not about talking, it's about listening." And when she said that to me, all kinds of thoughts came through my mind. I remember when I was a kid, and my mom and dad would say, "Son, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should listen twice as much as you say." Anybody else have a mother or father tell them that? Yeah. And then I also thought about this professor I had when I was doing my graduate work. He said, "I never learned anything while I was talking. I never learned anything while I was talking." So now I was interested. I'm thinking this not talking, listening thing, hostage negotiation. Hey, you know what, Lieutenant? I want to do this. I'm up for the assignment. What do I have to do? She said, "Bobby, first thing to do is we got to get you trained. It's 2 weeks and it's out of state." Now let me explain something about training assignments, and you folks probably understand this the most. Police officers get a lot of assignments in their career, and training assignments probably not the most desirable. Sometimes they're long, they're boring, things of that nature. This was 2 weeks of training that I had to undergo. And worse yet, it was out of state. We all know what happens when you guys are away from your office for 2 weeks. The paperwork just piles up, doesn't it? But you know, I really was committed to this hostage negotiation thing. So I said, "Lieutenant, I'm in. Sign me up. Where am I going for training?" And that's when I thought I hit the mother lode. Las Vegas, Nevada. 2 weeks, all expenses paid. All I had to do was bring my losing money. So I packed my bags and off I went for 2 weeks. And I met Captain Frank Bowles. Now remember, this is the 1990s. Frank Bowles was the captain of the New York Police Department, and he single-handedly started the hostage negotiation team at NYPD. You see, back then, when they had a critical incident, what would they do? They would surround it with police officers. Some ranking officer would get on the megaphone, "We got the place surrounded, come out with your hands up," right? That's what they did back then. But what happens when the bad guy doesn't come out? The good guys go in. And then what? Then there's shootings, and the people get hurt. Officers get hurt. Hostages get hurt. The bad guys get hurt. So Frank Bowles convinced the New York Police Department that we have to be kinder and gentler with these situations. No, granted, we'll have a team that's ready to go dynamic if we need to do so. But let's start and talk first. Maybe do a little listening. So the New York Police Department said, all right, Frank Bowles, it's all yours. Start your CNT or your crisis negotiation team. And so he did. The first one to start it. And this is their tagline right here. Talk to me. Talk to me. It's not me talking to you. It's you talking to me. So you know how like when you miss the game, you go to Sports Center to get the highlights? Well, so that's what I want to do with you, if you don't mind. I just want to give you the highlights, because I can't tell you everything that I learned in 2 weeks with Frank Bowles, but just the highlights. The first thing that Frank Bowles told us was, if it's important to them, it's important to you. If it's important to them, it's important to you. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, this is so difficult to do, isn't it? I mean, we all have priorities back at home, even in our family life. And when somebody comes to you with a seemingly problem that's nonsense, don't you just want to dismiss them? But Frank Bowles would say, no, if it's important to them, it's important to you. When I was a lieutenant in the Community Affairs Division, I had one of my clerks come in my office. Lieutenant, we have a problem. Okay, what's going on? You know so-and-so after lunch, she's in the common area, the break room where we have our kitchenette. She always leaves her dirty dishes in there and walks away. She needs to clean her dishes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the scale of things, how important is dirty dishes? Not too. But what did Frank Bowles say? If it's important to them, it's important to you. So I saw the young lady coming into the kitchen area. I saw her leave her dishes. I stepped forward and I said, oh, are those your dishes? Yes, they are, Lieutenant. I said, are you not going to wash them? Oh, I put a little Dawn in there. Put a little water, some warm water, that kind of just gets it out clean, and then I'll come back and I'll clean it. I said, well, don't you think it's kind of unfair to somebody coming into the kitchenette to eat their lunch and see your dirty dishes? She said, you know, Lieutenant, that's a good point. I never thought of that. I'll clean my dishes from now on. Now, simple problem, but if I didn't address that situation, what would that first employee think of me? Not very much. She would say, oh, don't go see the lieutenant. He's not going to do anything anyway, right? You have to do something. If they come to you and it's important to them, you've got to make it important to yourself. And it's difficult to do. Sometimes you've got to act a little bit, all right? But Frank Bowles said, if it's important to them, it's important to you. Frank Bowles also said, the job is over when the job is over. Time is on your side. So when you're communicating, sometimes you just take the time that you need to communicate whatever it is that you're trying to get across. All right? Especially if it's a conflict situation like we're talking about with the Xerox shootings. Time is on your side. Okay? So make sure that you're able to commit the time that you need. Now, of course, if it's a dynamic situation and you need a guard to do this or call 911 or whatever, then orders come out and things are carried on. But if you have the time, invest the time and effectively communicate with whoever you're speaking to. Frank Bowles would also tell us that when emotions are high, logic is low. When emotion is high, logic is low. All right? Like a teeter-totter, if you're able to bring emotion down, what happens to logic? It goes up. Emotion high, logic low. Have you ever been so angry that you did something you later regretted? Oh God, yeah, we've all done that. Why? Because you're so angry, your emotion is so high, you're not thinking clearly. And then you say or do something that you later regret. All right? So in an effort to make it a little bit more sticky, I use Charlie Brown and Linus Van Pelt. Did anybody know that was Linus's last name?
No.
Yeah, that's a Jeopardy question right there. I'll take cartoon characters for $200. Gentleman back you is Linus Van Pelt. Okay, so Charlie Brown is always the emotional one, and Linus is always kind of logical, right? And like a teeter-totter, if we bring Charlie Brown down, Linus goes up. Okay? That's why moms count to 10 when they're in longs and their child is misbehaving. Right? Because they're trying to bring that emotion down before they beat their kid. Because you don't want to be beating your kid in longs. It doesn't look good. All right? It's also important for you to know that it doesn't matter what the emotion is, as long as it's an emotion. Right? If somebody is so despondent and so in despair, what might they be thinking about? Hurting themselves. Right? Because they're not thinking clearly. They think that's a good answer. They think that if I kill myself, I'm going to feel better. Newsflash, when you're dead, you don't feel. All right? Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. all right? But it just demonstrates that it could be any kind of emotion. As long as there's too much of it, logic is low. This video demonstrates that.
Breaking news, keep scores, and more sent right to your cell phone. Sign up for News 10 text messaging on news10.net. A little marriage proposal going on in Newport right now, Jared.
I really can't imagine doing that. You know, that's under pressure, isn't it?
Well, whatever you did worked. You're still married. How many years?
40 years.
4 years. So I think people will be asking you out.
Well, I tell you, if I had did it that way, I wouldn't have got you to probably need me.
No, I'm just waiting once for the gal to say no, okay? Well, you know, that would be,
But she has to say yes there. She may say no as soon as they walk off the court.
I really do like that.
Every time I see this video, I just have to laugh. What was this guy feeling? He was feeling love. That emotion was so strong. He wasn't thinking properly. I love this girl so much. I'm going to go to a Rockets game, and at halftime, I'm going to take her center court, get down on the knee, pull out a 1-carat diamond ring, and propose to her. Is that logic? No, not probably the best idea. Okay? So just remember, when emotion is high, logic is low. You have to bring the emotion down so logic comes up so you can effectively communicate. And as a side note, you have to consider your own emotion and logic teeter-totter. Because if you're dealing with somebody and you're excited or upset or angry, what's going to happen to your emotional teeter-totter? It's going to be off kilter, right? So keep your emotions in check too. If you need to take a breath, hey, let's recess, come back to the table, whatever it is, take some time. But keep your emotions in check. Because if you're emotional, you're not thinking logically. Okay? Frank Bowles will also tell us to be an active listener. To be an active listener. And I know you folks understand this term, but for those who may not, being an active listener is simply communicating back to the person that you're actually listening to them. And you do it with head nods, verbal cues, or what have you. So that the person who's actually communicating with you totally understands you're listening to them. Okay? So two types. There's nonverbal and verbal clues that you can use when you're doing your active listening. Okay? And this is not as easy as it sounds, ladies and gentlemen. It's tough. Okay? So for nonverbal, body postures, your gestures, your eye movement, and your expressions. Okay? So body posture. If you came to me and said, hey Bobby, we need to discuss something, and I did this, all right, what's going on?
Defensive.
Defensive, yeah? Doesn't look good, right? Doesn't look good. Even like when you're sitting at a table. If you're talking and you sit at a table and there's a conference and you're sitting back in your chair, it doesn't look good. Sit forward in your chair, all right? It means you're engaged. Okay, so your body posture is something you have to consider when you're doing your active communication. Your gestures. If I tell you, oh, I totally agree with what you're saying, but I'm shaking my head no. Contradictory, right? So you got to be careful of your gestures as well. Your eye movement. If someone is talking to you, you should be looking them in the eye. If you keep darting over to the door or the window or your watch, what's that telling them? You're not engaged. You're not listening to me. You don't care. You got to look at them in the eye. My wife, ex-wife, used to hate it when I roll my eyes. Maybe that's why she's my ex-wife. I don't know. But it's very important. Your eye movement is very, very important. And of course, your expressions. Yeah, your expressions. You sometimes want to mirror. If they're telling about a happy situation, then you should be happy. And vice versa. Yeah, so your expressions. Okay? So those are your nonverbal clues when you're doing your active listening. Okay? Body posture, gestures, eye movement, and expressions. Then we go over to the verbal side of active listening. You're encouraging words. You're repeating. Paraphrasing. Most important, reflecting that emotion back, and then even more important, the empathy aspect of it. All right? So your encouraging words are simple, short words. Really? I didn't know that. That's interesting. Tell me more. Wow, no kidding. All right? Simple words that encourage the person to continue speaking because you're actively listening to them. All right? Repeating what they say means exactly what that is. I had a great time at the security conference over on the Big Island. Oh, you went to the Big Island for the security conference and you enjoyed yourself. Now, is there any doubt that I heard what you said? No, because I gave it back to you. All right? So repeating is another technique you can use. Then there's paraphrasing. If I told you that I went to the store, I went to grocery shopping, I filled my cart with all kinds of items, and I got to the checkout, and after the gal rang up everything, I realized I didn't have my wallet, you might say, so you went grocery shopping without money? Right? Just paraphrasing and giving it back to them. All right? Now, is there any doubt that you heard my story about going shopping? No, because you gave it back to me. All right? So I know that you're listening to me. These are very important. I talked about it a little bit with the emotions and your facial expressions. Reflecting the emotion back. You sound angry. You damn right I'm angry. I can see that. Yeah, I can see that you're angry. Identify that emotion and tell them, I get that emotion. You must be really happy. Your granddaughter's celebrating her first birthday today. Oh, I'm elated. I'm so happy. My little granddaughter, 1-year-old today. I can see that. You're really happy. All right? Identify that emotion and tell them that you see it. Give it back to them. And lastly, and most importantly too, is the empathy. Not sympathy, but empathy. Sympathy is, oh, you poor son of a gun. Right? I feel sorry for you. That's sympathy. We don't want that. We want empathy. We want to understand. I understand that you're upset. I would be upset too if that happened to me. All right? You're just understanding. You're not agreeing. Big difference, you're understanding. When we talk later more about Byron Uesugi and we see why he did what he did, you'll understand why. You're not going to agree with murdering 7 people, but you'll probably understand what was going through his mind when he did what he did. All right? So giving him that empathy. I understand you're angry. I would be too. I understand you're happy. It's a happy occasion. Good for you. All right? Give them the empathy. Okay? So that's active listening. If this was a larger course, we would actually practice that, but this is tailored for the time we have. Okay? So I know we went through a lot really quickly. Are there any questions on what we discussed so far? The active listening, important to them, important to you? All good?
All good.
All right, so now we're going to go into the creme de la creme. This was the best thing that Frank Bowles taught us. He called it the stairway to heaven. The way, and then you're going to have to flip your notes over, okay? The way to get to where you need to go, all right? These are the steps that he talked about. The stairway to heaven. It starts off with rapport. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 2 types of rapport. There's good rapport and bad rapport. That's it. There's no in between. Either you have good rapport with somebody or you have bad rapport. In our positions, it's important to have good rapport, whether it's our clients or our guards or the people we're dealing with on property, yes? Always try and develop good rapport. If you have poor rapport or bad rapport with an individual, then don't even try this because it's not going to work, okay? It's not going to work. So it's important to be likable and like the people that you're with, okay? So it starts off with rapport. You build rapport with them, okay? Then you go into your active listening, which we already talked about, okay? The nonverbal and verbal clues that you're actually listening to the person that's communicating to you, all right? Because that shows you care. Because I'm actually listening to you. The greatest gift we can give to each other is time. And if I'm taking the time to listen to your message, that means I care, all right? Now what happens when somebody, if you ever have something on your chest and you're able to get it off, maybe you talk to somebody, how do you feel after you get it off your chest? Don't you feel like a weight's been lifted, right? So that emotion goes down, that logic comes up, okay? Just by doing active listening. All right? And we already know from the lecture that once logic comes up, then we can go ahead and make some sort of suggestion. All right? If it's something that you want done. Please understand, too, that if somebody asks you, what should I do? Don't put your hands on your hips. Well, it's pretty obvious that what you need to do. Because I'll tell you what, 99.9% of the time, and I just made up that statistic, people know what they're going to do. Especially women. Yes, ladies? 2 ladies, is that right? Yes. See, this is what goes on. I read that book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, right? Women have problems and they can take care of them on their own. But what happens is they come to us, men, and say, well, this is what's going on at work. And what are men trained to do? Solve the problem. Guys, button it. They don't want to hear that. Am I right, ladies? Am I right? Yeah. No? You want to hear it? Okay. 50-50. Normally the ladies are ladies in the back. You can solve your own problems? Yeah. They just want us to do some active listening. Okay? So, when you do a suggestion, you don't want to, put your hands on your hips and kind of what you want to do is gently suggest. Well, did you ever think of doing this? What do you think would happen if you did that? All right? So you just gently suggest to them. All right? If they have no clue. Otherwise, it's just, what are you going to do? Well, this is what I'm going to do, all right? And you can find out from them what they're going to do. Okay? They have no clue, then you can offer some gentle suggestions. Okay? And then bring it about to a conclusion, wrapping it up. Okay? And what's going on from rapport to conclusion? What's transpiring between the 2 points? Trust. What else? Time. So write time in your notes there, right of the arrow. Time. Because what did Frank Bowles tell us about time? Time is on your side. Time is on your side. As long as it's not a dynamic situation that you're trying to communicate effectively. Okay? You guys want to see it work? Yeah?
Yeah.
Everybody loves Raymond? I love Raymond. But he's always getting in trouble, isn't he? Okay, so in this clip, Raymond is over at his mom and dad's house, and apparently their refund check from the IRS is missing. And mom finds it in the freezer, stuck to the bottom of the ice cream. All right? So she's going to confront her husband. They're going to have a little discussion or an altercation. But watch how Ray steps in and uses the techniques, especially the active listening that I shared with you.
Ice cream yet?
This is our tax refund check. It was stuck to the bottom of the ice cream. They've been on my back for a month telling me that I lost it. I'm not the one who eats ice cream in this house.
Oh, you eat ice cream.
Tofuti, I eat tofuti.
You tell your friends you eat tofuti, but then you eat my ice cream. Take a look at the tofuti. There's not a dent in the tofuti.
If I do eat ice cream, and I'm not saying that I do, I put it in a bowl like a person, not on the table where it gets stuck to an important check that somebody accuses me of losing.
You know, in class, we were just doing this. Why can't you just admit this is your fault?
Because I don't lose things, Frank. I'm organized.
Not organized. Insane. You got a shoebox labeled "pieces of string too small to use."
They're tied together into a noose.
I got a beam all picked out.
Yeah, I got a step stool for you.
Wait, just listen here for a second. Wait. So, Dad, you think Mom's being unfair?
That's right. It's always my fault when she can't find something.
Because I work like a dog to keep this place straight, and he messes it up with all his projects.
Ice cream's a project?
Well, you think that's being inconsiderate?
Have you met your father?
No consideration. Do I ever get any thanks for all the stuff I do around here?
What is it you do?
Well, didn't I fix the thing?
That's true, Mom, you did. So Dad's feeling unappreciated.
That's right.
Oh, come on. I don't appreciate you.
I don't want to know.
You ever know me, Dad isn't hearing thank you.
Oh, he wants thank you. This isn't thank you?
I guess Mom's saying actions speak louder than words.
That's very good, Ray.
But sometimes we need to hear the words.
Yeah, I need words.
And I don't need words?
I'm sorry the check got stuck to the chubby hubby.
You never said that before.
No one's ever said that before.
I appreciate you.
Thanks.
Holy crap, it works.
So what was Raymond doing? He was just basically identifying the emotions that his mom and dad were feeling, and then putting those in words. Yeah? That's all he was doing. All right? You want to see one more?
Yeah.
So he leaves this scene, he goes across the street to his house. And I failed to tell you in the beginning, before I showed you the clip, Ray and his wife are having problems with their daughter, the 6-year-old daughter. So they went to a parenting class, and they learned pretty much what I shared with you about rapport building, active listening, emotion logic, and that kind of stuff. So now he's trying to put it into play, and that's kind of where the first clip comes from. So now he's left his mom and dad's house, he's crossed the street, and he's going to go into his own house.
Why did you do this, Allie? This is terrible.
Oh, great.
This is Michael's giraffe. He's crying now. Why did you do this?
Cause.
Cause is not an answer.
Active listening.
Ray, that doesn't work.
It works. I just use on the worst kids in the neighborhood.
Would you? Look at this. Look what she did.
Try it. Try it.
Look, Ray.
I'll leave. What are you doing?
Okay. Allie, let's talk about what you did.
I don't want to talk.
Are you feeling angry?
Reflect back.
You're angry.
Yes.
Okay. Then it's not okay to rip up toys when we're angry.
Judgmental.
You are angry because,
Because it used to be your toy.
oh,
Yes.
I see. You think that Mommy and Daddy pay too much attention to Michael and Jeffrey.
okay, I was handling this.
They get everything.
Right, and you're upset because we gave them your old giraffe.
I still liked it.
But you weren't playing with it.
But that doesn't matter, though, because it was yours. And you're mad because we gave it to Michael without asking you, right?
Right.
Well, Mommy and Daddy made a mistake. And everybody makes mistakes, right, Mommy?
Yes.
You feel better now, Allie?
Yes, can I have a giraffe?
Well, it's broken, honey.
I know, I want to try to fix it for Michael.
See what I did there?
Yeah. Can't believe it. It's pretty amazing. You did it.
Anything else need taken care of while I'm around?
No.
What? What's the matter?
Nothing with you, obviously.
Don't go like me. I'm a natural.
Oh, look. Max, so proud of yourself. Listen, if I hadn't dragged you to that stupid class, you'd still be standing there going, hey, no TV.
You're feeling inadequate because I mastered it before you.
Give me the active listening crap. Where do you get off listening to me?
Never happen again.
So the 2 points that I want to make in this video clip is number one, when Ray first walks into the house and he sees that his daughter and wife are having a little argument, what does he say? Oh, goody. There's a certain euphoria that you feel when you are able to conquer these techniques of the active listening and actually getting somebody to maybe change their mind and such. So if you're able to do it, if you come across another situation, you want to try it again and see how well it works. The second thing I wanted to point out in this clip is that after he gets to the problem, what Allie's really concerned about, what does he say? Well, Mommy and Daddy are sorry. Sometimes people make mistakes. And I think we forget sometimes, is that all it takes, right? Is we just got to say, you know what, I made a mistake and I'm sorry, right? We have to own whatever problem has started because of whatever we did, right? Every Alcoholic Anonymous meeting, not that I've been to any, but starts the same way. My name is Robert and I'm an alcoholic. And everybody says, hello, Robert. But what are they doing? They're actually owning the problem, right? I'm the alcoholic. I'm the one with the problem. I'm the one who can solve it. Yeah? So sometimes it's just important to say you're sorry if you made a mistake and just own the problem. I made a mistake and I'm sorry. So 2 of the things that I wanted to share out of that clip. Yeah? Okay, so I know it's been a lot. We're wrapping it up. Any questions on what we covered so far? No? We're all good to go? Okay? So you want to go back to Byron? Figure out how this thing ends?
Yes.
Okay, so Byron Uesugi is sitting there at the Makiki Nature Center, contemplating suicide. I was part of the hostage negotiation team that responded. I was on Team 1. Team 1 delivers a throw phone. We have a rescue phone with 1,000 feet of telephone cable, and we have a phone that's wrapped up, and we throw it. It's a technical name, the throw phone. So our job is to introduce the throw phone. So we get close enough with the SWAT officers around us. Hey Byron, my name is Eric. Eric was lead, I was back behind him. My name's Eric, how are you doing? Are you okay? What is the first thing we gotta do? Build rapport, right? So we're showing we genuinely care about him, all right? It's not get out of the car with your hands up, are you okay, all right? We want to talk to you, we have a throw phone here, we're just gonna toss it over there, you pick it up and you can talk to our friend. And it was Cheryl at the time. She was going to be the lead investigator, the lead communicator, the negotiator. She was at the command post. So we were able to negotiate. We threw the phone. He picked it up, and then we were able to communicate with him. Okay? So Cheryl gets on the phone with him and starts talking. He wants to talk about the fish that he raises up at Easy Street where he lives with his father. Okay? He has carp up there, he raises these fish. He also wanted to talk about Xerox machines. Does anybody know how a Xerox machine works? Does anybody care how a Xerox machine works? Right? Do you think we care about his fish or how Xerox machines work? Not really. But what did Frank Bowles tell us up here? So what did we do? We listened to his stories and we did active listening. Really? How many fish? No kidding. I never knew that. Xerox machines. That's interesting. You must be a pretty smart guy to know all of that stuff. Okay? Just active listening. Just active listening. And while we're talking to him, time is going by, right? And if he's talking to us, he's not hurting himself or other people, right? So we'll talk to him until we're blue in the face. Right? As long as he's not hurting himself or other people, we'll continue to talk. All right? So we build rapport, we have some active listening going on. Where do you think his emotion and logic is going? Hey, these cops are pretty cool, they're talking to me, they're actually listening to me, they care about my fish, right? They care about Xerox machines, I kind of like these guys. All right? So now we're going to go into what's really happening. All right? Byron Uesugi would tell us that he was bullied at work, that he was ostracized from his fellow workers. They would hide his tools. If there was an assignment to fix a Xerox machine in Schofield, he would get the farthest assignment. Everybody else could fix machines in town, but they'd always dispatch him to the farthest location. There was a new Xerox machine that was coming online. Anybody like change? Nobody likes change. Byron would tell us, why don't they keep the old machine? I got the old machine down, I know how to fix it. Why do they have to bring a new machine online? All right? Byron Uesugi told us that he believed that day he was going to be fired. Now, Xerox will tell us later that that wasn't true. But sometimes it's perceived, right? People think something's going to happen, but it's not. So sometimes it's perceived. Byron Uesugi told us if they were going to fire me that day, I wanted to give them a reason to fire me. That's kind of sad. That's kind of sad. So emotions coming down, you would say. Logic coming up. Yeah, we build rapport. Now maybe we can offer a suggestion. See if we can't finish this up. So it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. His vehicle's facing west. The sun's coming down, shining right into the van. And Cheryl says this on the phone. Sure is getting hot. I could go for a big gulp right about now. And Byron Uesugi responds, with extra ice. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, in the hostage negotiation world is called a hook, right? That's something that he wants that he can't get except through us, all right? So you don't give anything without getting anything, right? So we're going to give him a big gulp with extra ice. What do we want? We want the gun? Okay, let's think bigger. What do we want?
Surrender.
What's that?
Surrender.
We want him to come out of the van. We want to end this, don't we? Now, any chance he's going to come out for a big gulp with extra ice? Probably not. But we can shoot for the stars and work our way down, right? So Cheryl says to him, I'll tell you what, Byron, after you come out, and notice it's not if you come out, because we already decided he's coming out, but we're just letting him decide when. Yeah? So she says, after you come out, I'll go and get a couple of Coca-Cola, big old Coca-Colas with extra ice. And this is his response. And just as a disclaimer, I realize that he murdered 7 people. I realize that he has shattered the lives of 7 families. I realize that he belongs in jail. I realize all of that. But this is what he says to her. Would you do that for me? Can you imagine just a common human decency to buy somebody else a Coca-Cola with extra ice is foreign to him. Nobody was ever nice to this guy. We talked about a little bit about understanding. So now can you understand? We don't agree with what he did, but can you understand what turmoil he must have been going through day in and day out, going to work? Byron Uesugi gave up for a big gulp with extra ice. He was taken into custody. This is him being escorted into the receiving desk at Maine HPD. This is Cheryl. We call her Red. You can see why. And this is Byron Uesugi, again, coming into the receiving desk. So question to all of you, does he get a big gulp with extra ice?
Yes.
Does he?
Yes.
You darn tootin' he gets it. Why? Because your word is gold. It has to be gold. Otherwise, none of this works. Right? If you say you're going to do something, you have to do something. Right? If you say you're going to do it, then you have to do it. Okay? I know that was a lot of information, kind of down and dirty, but that's about it. I have questions, you have questions, I have answers. No questions.
Why didn't you guys shoot him?
Pardon me?
Why didn't you shoot him?
Why should we? What was he doing? Why should we? Then I guess we shouldn't do it. What would happen if we did shoot him?
excessive force.
Probably, yeah. I'm sorry, sir, let me go back here. Go ahead.
So you talk about time being on your side, but the longer time goes, people tend to get impatient. How do you manage that?
Like I told you in the lecture, you have to be able for the long haul. When you get into something, like this is a crisis management situation, but we're talking about effective communication. So in this situation, you just got to know this could take a long time. And just have to put your time in and just realize that. So that's the best way to manage it. If you need to take a break and switch off, you just need to do
How
that.
do you do that with someone who's in a hurry? What if he says...
Yeah, so sometimes, again, I'm sorry.
You flip that over and say he's the guy that wants something on very short time frames, whether it's an employee or whether it's a guy who just killed 7 people.
Okay, so you're talking in this situation, then we would do like stall tactics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're working on that. We don't have the big gulp yet, but we're working on it. Okay, we have a guy that's working on that. But right now, I really want to find out what's this about or what that's about or whatever. So you kind of just push it off to the side. And the situation gets dynamic, then yeah, you got to go in. Yeah. Okay, let me go right here, sir.
Different situation. Once in a while, we have domestics. Male, female in the vehicle, yelling, swearing, screaming. How do you handle that?
So what is your policy on that?
Huh?
Folks have a policy?
Yeah, the guard would approach.
And then you want to separate?
Separate, we teach that, separate if possible.
Yeah, separate them.
Take
And then just
away-
engage in your active listening. What's going on over here? How can I help you? Right? You want to build that rapport. I'm Security Officer Smith. What's going on? How can I help you? Right? I think it goes to Ed's lecture earlier, right? We want to, what's best for the client. And at that time, it may not be your client, but they're a guest on your property, and so you're going to treat them thusly. Yeah. Do your active listening, motion comes down, logic goes up, they come up with a resolution. Well, I'm just going to sleep in my mother's house tonight. Okay, that's fine. Get your name, get name information for your report, and then be done with it. Yeah. Does this work every time? No. Is this something you can try?
Yes.
And if it doesn't work, then what? Resort to whatever else your training is. Yeah. Okay, question back here, sir.
I think it's the right way to handle it. There isn't even more of an emphasis on it today with social media. I mean, I know they're a distance away, but listen, especially everybody has their camera phones today, they're watching to see how to handle a situation like that. So isn't there even more of an emphasis on the way it's handled?
Oh, by all means.
I mean, because let's face it today, police officers, I mean, I was one many years ago, I mean, what they're facing today, I mean, how do you handle it better to be exactly that?
Yeah, you have to try this way first. And again, if it doesn't work, that's fine. And you have to go tactical, that's fine. If somebody gets hurt, I don't want to say that's fine, but that's the result. But we always make them understand that they're in charge of what happens in there. We're in charge of what happens out here. So if he says, well, I'm going to start killing hostages one at a time, we're coming in. Yeah. Because you're forcing our hand. Yeah. It's not because we didn't bring you the big gulp, and now you're going to kill hostages, right? You're the one to decide that's what you're going to do. So this is what we're going to do. So that's how it works. But thank you for that comment.
Is he schizophrenic? Or?
Yeah, I do simplify this a little bit because he had all kinds of issues too. Yeah.
Do you recall the mental health he received with the EAP? That he had kicked the elevator or something.
Yeah, he had some.
Did they critique the mental health treatment?
So that's a good point. Thank you for bringing it up, sir. So when you're looking at yourself as a supervisor or chief of security, whatever your position might be, when you have these kinds of problems, you got to address them, right? I think too, Ed was talking about it in his lecture, right? You can't just slide it under the rug. You got to address these things, yeah, right? So it's a good point for us. That's why I said in the beginning, you can glean what you want from this, because there's really a lot of facets you can take from this lecture. Yeah? Good. You have a question back there, sir, or just itchy face? Oh, okay. Didn't mean to tease. I just thought you were raising your hand. Question back here, sir?
Just one question. As a company with Xerox, if you could share, what type of measures did they take after the incident? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I would certainly be guessing. What would you think you should do if this happened at your organization or your company?
Well, there's DHS videos out there with
Active shooters, yeah.
Sarah, think about yourself.
But then also, how about resources for employees that might be having a hard time adjusting?
I'm just trying to figure out what Xerox did.
I really don't know what they did, yeah. But I'm sure there was some sort of response. But that's a good question. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that question was directed to Steve back there. Steve, there was a civil lawsuit by the family against Xerox. I think it got settled out of court.
So, I mean, it would depend on the facts as far as I know. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to kind of guess at what the basis of that was. Not knowing anything about this.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I would assume because of the magnitude of it, the scale of it, the sensationalism of it, you're gonna find people that, to his point, are empathetic, and somebody should pay for it. You know, I think on a most basic level, that may be one of the reasons why someone thought they should be liable, but without knowing the facts, it'd be really hard to make those guess.
Good question, thank you. Any other questions? No? Well, it's been a pleasure sharing with you. I hope you're able to glean something from this presentation. If this is something that you think might work in your own organization, on your handouts on the back, that's my name, my phone number, and my email address. So just go ahead and let me know, and I'll be happy to help you out if I can. But it's been a pleasure being with you, and I'm on time, so wonderful.